Hello everyone, I am Manos and I'll be continuing with the organic chemistry lectures. So in the previous lecture, we learned some fundamental concepts about nature and energy and charge and how they behave. We learned about cations and anions, and we learned about how energy changes in a reaction and why basically a reaction occurs. And in the end, we concluded that in any reaction, the rate of the reaction depends on the RDS. What was RDS? RDS was the slowest step in a chain of reaction. Suppose there was a set of reactions from A to B to C to D, then RDS was called to be that step where the rate of the reaction was the slowest. Because we saw from the analogy of that relay race that the slowest step is the significant step in determining the overall time taken to complete the reaction. So as I said, that it is very important to know what are the phenomena or what are the things that can stabilize a species that are formed in between the reactant and the product. We all know that the in between state of the reactants and the products in the transition state. In the transition state, the reactants are partially present and partially broken, and the products are just started to form. So, in this lecture, we are delving into the general organic chemistry and more precisely the electronic effects, and we will see what are the effects or what are the phenomena that basically stabilize the charged species. So, first of all, let us know why a charged species is unstable. So, in order to understand this, we all know that any surrounding, when we look in our surroundings, all these things are uncharged, that is neutral. This is the natural state. But if we remove an electron or if we add an electron, an excess of electron, the species get charged. That means what? They are sort of removed, or they are changed from their natural state to some exterior state that is not of their natural habitat. That is, the natural state, the natural tendency is to remain neutral. Any molecule will always try to be neutral. Even if it is charged, it will be charged as plus or minus. What I'm trying to say, there might be a molecule AB. AB might be neutral, or it also may happen that A bears a positive charge, B bears a negative charge, but in totality the charge of A and B is neutral. This will always happen. This is a basic law of nature, that everything in the nature or in our surrounding wants to be stable, and stability can be said is achieved when a charged species become uncharged, or a charged species can couple with a similar charge, can couple with charge of opposite magnitude but similar amount, like plus 100 minus 100 charge. If they become together, they will be highly stabilized. Why? Because there's a force of attraction between them. According to Coulomb's law, we know K force equal to K q1 q2 by r square. So there will be a force of attraction between the unlike charges, and the force of attraction simply means that the stability of the system will increase. So now, since we understood that the charges needs to be stabilized in order to make them as close as possible to uncharged species, that is, charged species always try to neutralize their charges to behave as uncharged species, to gain the configuration of uncharged species. So they can do this in three ways. They can do this by inductive effect, they can do this by hyperconjugation effect, and they can do this by resonance effect. Minded, this resonance is not the one that provides coaching. This resonance is actually a term in organic chemistry, and it is basically an electronic phenomena. What are all these things? All these are electronic phenomena. Electronic phenomena. What do? They basically provide stability to an species. Now, it is a well-known fact that the electronegativity of carbon is slightly higher than hydrogen. What this means, that if there is a carbon and hydrogen bond, sigma bond, then there must be a pair of electrons shared between carbon and hydrogen. And if electronegativity of carbon is higher than hydrogen, what this basically implies is that this pair of electron will be pulled towards carbon. Who is pulling the pair of electron? Carbon itself, because carbon has more electronegativity. That is the basic definition of electronegativity. That is the tendency of a bonded atom to pull the electrons, the bonded pair of electrons, towards itself. This basically means that if carbon and hydrogen are bonded like this, the electrons will prefer to stay more closer to hydrogen, more closer to carbon than hydrogen. If this is the case, let me give you a similar analogy. Suppose this is a box, a rectangular box we are having, and suppose we filled water in it, and the water is uniformly distributed throughout the box. What this means that water is here, water is also here, water is everywhere. Now suppose this same box I have put a divider here. This means the water from this side cannot enter this side, and water from this side cannot enter this side. So what I have done is I have pulled this water, I have taken this water and put this into this side, and I have put a divided bar. Then this side is empty and this side water is more. I have assumed that the depth or the height of the container, rectangular container, is so high that the water doesn't overflow, and the quantity of water here is same as this. Like if there is V volume of water, here this is V volume of water, but the place of the size of the place is small. So what this basically means that the water was initially uniformly distributed, but now the water is collected at a particular place. In a similar manner, what we can say, suppose if this was not water and if this was electron, then the uniform distribution of electron would guarantee that the uniform charge distribution uh, creates a more stable species. Why is it stable? Because the charge is uniformly spread. But if the charge is accumulated at one place, then the repulsion will be more. Repulsion between charges will be more. Suppose there are a number of charges and they are clustered in a very near position. Then the mutual force of repulsion between them, they are all negative charges, that means they will repel each other, and the repulsion between them will be very high. But suppose the number of negative charges remain the same, but I distribute it somewhere, somehow, that they are uniformly distributed and they are uniformly far apart from each other. This means the overall force of repulsion between them will be low. And this is a very basic thing, that the attraction implies the energy is getting lowered or stability is increasing, and repulsion means stability is decreasing. Why? Stability means what? A body is stable. That basically means that it doesn't undergo deformation, or I should say that it doesn't undergo reaction. It is as it is good with it itself. But if it undergoes repulsive forces, then what can happen is that the molecule can break off. This simply means that if force of repulsions are high, the molecule is less stable, and forces of repulsion can be made high if the electrons are collected or accumulated at a particular place. So in inductive effect, what we do is we study the movement of electrons across a sigma bond. Ideally, when carbon was bonded to carbon, the electron were at the middle, because the electronegativity of carbon, this carbon and this carbon, were same. But when carbon is bonded with hydrogen, the electronegativity is not the same. Electronegativity of carbon and hydrogen is not the same, and that is why the electrons shift this side. This means carbon becomes negatively charged and hydrogen becomes positively charged. Mind you that this charge is not absolute charge. This means that I'm assuming one electron is having 1 unit of charge, that is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. This is the standard 1 electron charge, the charge of present in 1 electron with a negative sign. But I am not assuming here a complete charge. This del minus means that the whole of the electron is not getting transferred onto carbon. Rather, a part of the electron cloud is hovering over carbon. This means that since the electron is now not considered as a particle but rather as a cloud, this means that the inductive effect pulls the electron cloud towards the carbon. This basically means that the electron cloud loves to hover over this carbon atom in a much more time than in a hydrogen, which basically means that the electron cloud spends more time on carbon than hydrogen. So naturally, this implies that the carbon will get negatively charged and hydrogen will get positively charged. That is partial negative and partial positive charge. So we can think of this as if the hydrogen is pushing the electrons from its side to the carbon side. This effect is called the inductive effect. So what we can infer, inductive effect is electron pushing or electron pulling effect. In this case, we saw that the electrons are being pushed from hydrogen to carbon. So this is inductive effect. This is pushing effect. It could have also happened that the electrons was getting pulled from carbon, pulled away from carbon. That is also another inductive effect. We will name the inductive effect. One is plus I effect, that is positive inductive effect, and is minus I effect, that is negative inductive effect. Plus I is positive inductive effect and minus I is negative inductive effect. Plus I means that the electron is so we were discussing plus I effect and minus I effect. Plus I is positive inductive effect and minus I is negative inductive effect. So plus I, the positive inductive effect, basically means that the electrons are getting pushed away from carbon. Electrons pushed away from carbon. And minus I effect means electron is pushed into the carbon. So this is plus I effect and this is minus I effect. Now we can infer some examples and then we can relate. Suppose here is a carbon and suppose here is CF3. We know that fluorine is the most electronegative element in the periodic table and these are hydrogens. Then we know that due to the high electronegativity of fluorine, the fluorine will pull the electrons in this bond towards itself, and this effect will get distributed not only in this bond but also in this bond. So this bond also the electrons are getting pulled. This means there is a natural tendency of the electrons to go from this carbon to this carbon. This basically means that I'm not drawing the hydrogen anymore. This carbon becomes delta plus and this carbon becomes delta minus due to the presence of the electronegative group fluorine. So this is basically your minus I inductive effect. Electron is pushed into the carbon. Here is pushed into this carbon. And plus I inductive effect in the similar manner is, suppose there is CH3. In this case CH3 that is C2H6, it is ethane molecule. This hydrogen, due to the less electronegativity of this hydrogen pushes the electron towards the carbon. Okay, so this carbon becomes delta plus and this hydrogen becomes delta minus. So this is an example of plus I effect, that is positive inductive effect. So we have covered what is charge, what is inductive effect, and why inductive effect is happening. And now we will see what are the effects and what are the properties of inductive effect, and then we will solve some questions to gain confidence in this topic. Okay, now that we have known what is inductive effect, we will now study the properties of inductive effect. The most important property of inductive effect is inductive effect plus I or minus I. This basically means inductive effect can occur or transmit only through sigma bond. This means if there is a pi bond, the pi bond will not be able to transmit the electrons or to transmit the electron cloud across one atom to the other atom. The second most important property, and this is a very important property, you must remember this, is inductive effect plus I or minus I is very weak effect. Weak with respect to what? Weak with respect to the other two effects. What are the other two effects? The other two effects are hyperconjugation and resonance. Why is plus I or minus I, that is inductive effect, a weak effect? This basically comes from the fact that in inductive effect, we consider the transmission of electron cloud and not the complete movement of electrons. In case there had been a complete transmission of electron from one atom to the other, we would have written A plus and A minus. That means one atom would have lost 1 unit of electronic charge and the other atom would have gained 1 unit of electronic charge. But here we see that in inductive effect, none of the atoms are gaining a complete electronic charge, rather they are gaining partial charges. What that means is they are having del plus and del minus. That means that electron cloud is more suitable or more probable to hover over a particular atom, but that doesn't mean that the electron cloud will solely be on top of a particular atom. I guess I've made myself clear. So this is another very important property, that inductive effect is a very weak effect when compared to hyperconjugation and resonance. We will come to the other two, the latter two, hyperconjugation and resonance effect, a bit later. The third most important property that we need to remember is inductive effect is a distance factor. Plus I or minus I depend on the distance. What this means is, if the distance increases, the inductive effect or the phenomena of the transmission of electrons decreases exponentially. Why? Because we know the Coulombic force is given by k q1 q2 by r square, where r is the mutual distance between the two charges. Now, if the charges are far apart from each other, we see that the force here is inversely proportional to r square. That means if the distance is doubled, the force is decreased by 1/4 times. That is, it follows inverse square law. Hence, we can see that even if the distance is increased slightly, the magnitude of the force or the magnitude of the transmission of electron gets weakened severely. So what we can say, that inductive effect depends on distance. An example, okay, let me give the examples together at the end. And the fourth important property, it is not actually a property, you can think of it like this, that minus I inductive effect directly varies electronegativity of the atom involved. Okay, this means that if we have CH3 CF3, if we have CH3 CCl3, and if we have CH3 CBr3, then we can say the minus I inductive effect. Minus I inductive effect basically means that the tendency to pull the electron into the carbon. The minus I inductive effect will be maximum for this molecule, then this molecule, then this molecule. Why does this happen so? Because fluorine is the most electronegative element among fluorine, chlorine and bromine. Electronegativity order is fluorine greater than bromine. And that is why minus I inductive effect of this molecule is maximum, then this molecule, then this molecule. This is an example of the point number 4. Point number 3, if we need to explain, we can say that suppose we are having CH3, CH2, CH2Cl, and on the other hand we are having the same compound CH3, CH2, CH3. Now this CH2, what I am doing is I am removing an hydrogen and adding the chlorine here. And suppose we need to check the inductive effect on this carbon, on this starred carbon. So what we see is the chlorine is 2 carbons away from the required carbon where we need to check the inductive effect, the effect of inductive effect. We are keeping this carbon same, we need to check the inductive effect on this carbon, and the inductive effect is caused due to this electronegative chlorine molecule. Now this chlorine molecule is 2 carbons far from this carbon in this molecule number 1. In this molecule number 2 we see the chlorine is 1 carbon far. Here this is one carbon, the another carbon, and here it is only one carbon away. This means that relatively in the second molecule, the chlorine atom, the electronegative chlorine atom, which is causing the minus I effect, is much nearer to the point of observation. The point of observation is basically where we are checking the inductive effect. Like I said, the electronic effect stabilizes the atoms. So stabilizes the atoms, or rather to be more precise, they stabilize the charged species or any species in particular. Here we are checking the stability of this carbon, not actually stability. uh, to be more general, we are checking the availability of electron on this carbon, whether more electron is available than normal or less electron is available. We see that less electron is available than normal because some of the electron is being pulled by chlorine, and if as the chlorine is far away here in the first molecule, the availability of electron is lowered, but in the second case the availability of electron is lowered by a more larger amount as the chlorine is pulling from a closer range, from a closer distance. So this comes the example of point number 3. And point number 1 and 2 we cannot comprehend just now because uh, we don't know resonance and hyperconjugation yet. Once we are done with resonance and hyperconjugation, we can observe or we can comprehend what the point number 1 and 2 is basically speaking about. Okay, so now that we have completed inductive effect, I must say that inductive effect is not that much big topic to be dealt with, and that is why independent questions solely from this topic cannot be formed that much. So I have tried here to discuss most of the things that we have studied till now in a very concise way. So in the first problem, it is asking fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, what is the order of inductive effect? It can be plus I, it can be minus I. We will see both of them. Let us first discuss minus I order. The minus I order of fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, as you can say, that minus I effect is the meaning of minus I effect is pulling of electron towards itself. So pulling of electron should make you think about electronegativity, because electronegativity is the same phenomena where the bonded pair of electrons get pulled towards one of the atoms due to more electronegativity. So we can say that minus I effect will be more for that atom which has more electronegativity. The value of electronegativity is more for that atom which has more minus I effect. So in this case we can clearly say that fluorine will have greater minus I than chlorine, then bromine, then iodine. uh, in the Okay, so I was discussing question number 3, and in the meantime my pen tab stopped working, and then I continued with question number 4. So that is why I'm discussing question number 3 again. In question number 3 we see that there is N plus Me3. Me is nothing but a CH3, the methyl group. In a shorthand notation we write it as Me. Me means methyl. N Me3 plus, then we have NH Me2 plus, and we have N H2 plus, and we have written the first molecule again. So this is just a repetition. This one is not needed. You can rub this off. Okay. So this is the question, and we need to compare the inductive effect order of these groups. So we can see that in the first molecule, in the first group, we are having N plus Me3. So as N plus is surrounded with 3 Me groups, and we know CH3 group or the Me group, methyl group, is a very good plus I group. That means it can donate the electrons towards the other atom, that is away from them. So Me3 will naturally give the plus I effect or donate electrons, not complete transfer of electrons, but transmit the electrons across the sigma bond towards the nitrogen, and that is why the plus charge in the nitrogen will get neutralized somehow. And in the second case we are having NH Me2. Here there is 2 methyl groups, and the methyl groups will again push electrons from their side to the nitrogen's plus charge and neutralize the plus charge across the sigma bond. And in the third example also we are having one methyl group, and one methyl group will push its electron towards the nitrogen's plus charge and try to make it stable. Now what is important to note here, that we are having 3 methyl group in the first group. In the second group we are having 2 methyl group, and the third group we are having 1 methyl group. Now it's a natural thing to conclude that if the number of methyl group is more, then obviously the plus I, or the amount of electron that is being pushed into the nitrogen plus, will be more. Suppose for a qualitative understanding, let us Assume that one single methyl group is pushing 10 electrons away from its bond towards the nitrogen plus charge. Now, since there are three methyl groups, 30 unit positive, 30 electrons are being pushed into the N plus. In the second molecule, 20 units electron are pushed, and in the third molecule, 10 electrons, 10 unit electrons are getting pushed. This is a very naive and very abstract example. I think I'm able to make myself clear, and if you understand the thing, that is the most important thing to understand, rather than to do other stuffs. So what we were saying is that in the first molecule we are having three methyl groups, and that is why the plus I effect will be more. And since the plus I effect will be more, the nitrogen clusters will be stabilized in a more better manner. That is why the N plus charge will get diminished. And in the second molecule also, the plus charge of nitrogen will be neutralized due to the plus I effect of two methyl groups, but the plus charge of nitrogen will be diminished in a lesser amount. That means that N plus in the first molecule is much more stabilized than N plus on the second molecule than N plus of the third molecule. So we can conclude from here that the N plus in the first atom, in the first group, is very much stabilized, and that is why it will not further pull electrons from the other bonded parts of the organic compound. That means that the plus I effect of NMe3 is lesser than the plus I effect of NHMe2, and it is still lesser than the plus I of NH2Me. Why is this happening? Because N plus is already getting stabilized by the 3 methyl group. That is why it doesn't have that much tendency to pull the other bonded electron pairs from the other parts of the organic molecule to make the nitrogen plus stabilized. The core aim of all these three molecules is to neutralize the N plus charge, and it is doing this so by pulling the electrons. Now we already see that in the first molecule the three methyl groups are already providing much stability to the N plus, and that is why exactly the plus I of NMe3 will be the least and the plus I of NH2Me will be the most. Well, I'm extremely sorry that my pen tab is not working currently. So I think I'll have to continue without the pen tab, and I'll try to resolve the issue, the technical issue, as quickly as possible. So we were discussing question number 4. In question number 4, we see that there is a CH3 and there is a CD3. What D basically is here is it is an isotope of hydrogen. It is called deuterium. And if we remember correctly, isotopes are nothing but another form of the element. More precisely, if the number of neutrons is increased in an element, keeping the number of protons and electrons same, then we get an isotope of that same element. In hydrogen, if we increase one electron or increase the electron, increase the neutron count. I'm extremely sorry. I think I have said electron. In hydrogen, if we increase the number of neutrons by one, then we get another isotope of hydrogen that is called deuterium. So obviously, deuterium has a higher atomic mass than hydrogen, and we can also say that as we are increasing the number of neutrons, so we are keeping the number of protons and electrons same, and that is why the chemical properties remain exactly the same. What differs is in the physical property, and the boiling point, melting point, and as such all those things will differ in case of isotopes. We are not going into details of that for the time being. Let us concentrate to the given question. So here, obviously, we can see that CH3 and CD3 they will be giving plus I effect. Why? Because we know that hydrogen and deuterium both are less in electronegativity than carbon. That is why carbon will pull the electrons, and in another way we can say that CH3 as a whole, as a group, will give plus I effect, or push the electron away from itself uh, towards the bonding of the other part of the atoms. So we must remember this fact that between hydrogen and deuterium has the electronegativity of deuterium is lesser than hydrogen. That is what I'm trying to say. Suppose the electronegativity of hydrogen is 1, then the electronegativity of deuterium will be less than 1. So basically this means that the electronegativity gap between carbon and hydrogen is less than the electronegativity gap between carbon and deuterium. That is what I'm trying to say, which basically means that the electronegativity gap between CD3 is more than the electronegativity gap between CH3, and that is why CD3 will uh, show plus I effect in a more pronounced way. Uh, in case we were asked about the bond dissociation energy or the bond strength, the sigma bond strength of the carbon, hydrogen, and the carbon deuterium, the order would have been reversed. We need to remember this thing, that the order of bond dissociation energy or hyperconjugation, we will come to it a bit later. Hyperconjugation also can a question can be formed using the same example, CH10 CD3. There we will see that the CD3 and CH3, the strength of bond is more in case of CD3, and that is why the CD3 will the bond breaking of CD3 is more difficult. That is why hyperconjugation will be uh, less in CD3 than in CH3. But in case of inductive effect, plus I inductive effect, the reverse order is followed. That is, CD3 gives more plus I effect than CH3. And the reason being that the electronegativity gap of C and D is much higher than the electronegativity gap of C and H. I think I am able to make myself clear. In the next structure, we are having C6H5, that is basically a phenyl group. We have OCH3, we have Cl, and we have NO2. So in case we are told to give an order of the minus I effect, so minus I effect is basically they are pulling the electron towards itself. So if we draw the structure, if we expand and draw the structure of these elements, of these groups, we can see that NO2 will bear a positive charge on the nitrogen. If you draw the structure of NO2 in the Lewis structure, you can see that N will be positively charged with a double bonded to O and single bonded to another O. That basically means that nitrogen is carrying a formal positive charge, and in all the other species there is no positive formal charge. That is why the most prominent minus I group will be NO2. After that, we see that there is C6H5, there is OCH3, and there is chlorine. So we will now go as per the hybridization or the electronegativity of the atom. So we see there is carbon, there is chlorine, and there is oxygen. So we know the most electronegative atom between this carbon, oxygen, and chlorine is oxygen, obviously. So the next or the next element, the next group in the order of minus I would be OCH3, and then it will be Cl, and then it will be C6H5. How we are getting to this? Firstly, we see if there is any charged species or not. We see yes, there is a charged species NO2. I mean here charged by formal charge. NO2 is having a formal charge of +1 on the N on the nitrogen atom. That is why it is positively charged. And in such a species, if there is a positive formal charge, so it will obviously try to pull the electrons in a more larger amount, because I told you already they are positively charged, they are charged species, and that is why they will try to neutralize their charge, and that is why NO2 will have a much higher minus I effect than the rest of the others. And in the rest of the others, we will see the electronegativity of the atoms concerned. Here there is chlorine, there is oxygen, there is C6H5, that is carbon basically. So we can see that among these, oxygen is the most electronegative element, and that is why OCH3, then Cl, and then C6H5. In the next example, it is quite similar to the previous example. Here the C plus is the C plus here, this needs to be stabilized, and this will be stabilized by the plus I inductive effect produced by these groups. Now we can see that here it is single bond, here it is double bond, and here it is triple bond. But basically means is the hybridization of carbon, of this and this carbon, of this and this carbon, and of this and this carbon changes. This is actually CH, that is triple bonded, and the CH. So as the hybridization of carbon changes, we see that the first one is sp3, then this is sp2, and this is sp. And we know as as it moves from sp3 to sp2 to sp, the electronegativity of this carbon increases. We have read this in chemical bonding, that as the s character increases, the electronegativity increases. We are not going to details of why as it will happen. We can say that as s character increases, it will come more nearer to the nucleus, and the hard and fast rule or the fact is that if s character increases, the electronegativity of that element of that atom will increase. So we can see that it is sp hybridized, and that is why the most electronegative carbon is this one, and then this double bond carbon, and this single bonded carbon. So we can say that this triple bonded carbon, this is having a high electronegativity compared to the other carbons. That is why this carbon will pull the electrons away from this C plus, making it more positively charged. In the double bonded system, it will pull, but not to that extent as compared to the triple bonded carbon. So it will pull in a lesser amount, and the C plus will be destabilized, but less destabilized compared to the third one. And in the first case, we are not having any multiple bonds, and we are having a single bond. This will only give the plus I. This will stabilize this plus charge here. So we can infer from here that if we number the first molecule as 1, the double bonded molecule as 2, and the triple bonded molecule as 3, then we can say that the stability order, we are not concerned for plus I or minus I, we are just saying the stability order of these atoms. So stability order of these molecules or species basically means we have to stabilize this plus charge present on this carbon. So carbon's plus charge is stabilized here in the first molecule to the most, because we are having plus I, and to the least in the third, as we are having minus I at a large amount by this triple bonded carbon. So the stability order would be 1, then 2, then 3. 3 will be least stable, as we are having a triple bonded carbon here, which will pull the electron away from the C plus, that is making it more unstable. And in the second molecule, it will become unstable, but less unstable compared to the third one. And in the first one, we can we can see that the plus charge is being stabilized by the plus I effect produced by this whole group. So I think these questions covers most of the fundamental things of what we have learned so far. So I'll catch you up in the next lectures, and we'll continue with hyperconjugation.